Hello everyone. Today we are going to learn English through a story. The Time Traveler's English Café, a story for English learners. Part 1. A strange job offer. Emma Chin was looking for a job. She had just moved to London from Shanghai, and although she had studied English for many years, she still found it difficult to speak with confidence. Every job interview ended the same way. We're sorry, but we need someone with better English skills. One rainy Monday morning, Emma was sitting in her favorite coffee shop, reading the job advertisements in the newspaper. The coffee shop was small but cozy, with warm yellow walls and comfortable chairs. The smell of fresh coffee and baked goods filled the air. "Excuse me," a gentle voice said, "but would you like a job?" Emma looked up. An elderly woman with silver hair and bright blue eyes was standing next to her table. The woman wore an elegant purple dress and had a kind smile that made Emma feel instantly comfortable. "My name is Mrs. Rose," the woman said, sitting down. "I own a very special cafe, and I'm looking for someone exactly like you." Emma was confused. "Like me? But my English is exactly what we need." Mrs. Rose finished her sentence. "You see, my cafe is different from other cafes. We don't just serve coffee and tea, we serve time." Serve time. Emma wasn't sure she had understood correctly. Mrs. Rose's eyes twinkled. "Yes, dear. The Time Traveler's English Café is a magical place where people can practice their English by traveling to different times and places. And we need someone who understands what it's like to learn English as a second language." Part 2. The Magical Café. The next morning, Emma stood in front of a beautiful old building in a quiet London street. The sign above the door read, "The Time Traveler's English Café," in elegant gold letters. Through the windows, she could see comfortable chairs, wooden tables, and lots of unusual clocks on the walls. When she opened the door, a small bell rang. The inside of the café was even more amazing than it looked from outside. Each table was surrounded by a soft, colorful mist. At one table, she could see people dressed in 1920s clothing, dancing and laughing. At another, a group was dressed like Victorian ladies and gentlemen having a formal tea party. "Welcome to your first day," Mrs. Rose said, appearing beside her. "Let me show you how everything works." Mrs. Rose explained that the cafe used special time tea and history coffee to help people practice their English. When customers drank these magical beverages, they could travel to different time periods and talk with people from the past. The magic made sure everyone could understand each other, but they had to speak in English. "The drinks work differently for each person," Mrs. Rose explained. "They take you to the time period that will help you learn best. Some people need to practice business English, so they might go to a 1980s office. Others need to work on everyday conversation, so they might visit a 1950s American diner." Part 3. Learning the rules. Emma's job would be to help customers choose the right drink and explain how everything worked. Mrs. Rose taught her the cafe's 3 important rules. Rule 1. The magic only works for learning. Customers couldn't use it to change history or make money from knowing the future. Rule 2. Everyone must speak English. The magic would help them understand each other, but they had to try their best to communicate in English. Rule 3. Customers had to return to the present time before their drink got cold. If they didn't, they might get stuck in the past. "Don't worry," Mrs. Rose said, seeing Emma's worried face. The cups will glow red when it's time to return. We haven't lost anyone yet. As Emma learned more about her job, she met the cafe's regular customers. There was Mr. Garcia from Spain, who came every morning to practice his business English by attending 1960s board meetings. Miss Tanaka from Japan loved visiting the 1950s to work on her casual conversation skills. And Mr. Muller from Germany enjoyed traveling to medieval England to learn Old English expressions. Part 4. Emma's first customer. After 3 days of training, it was time for Emma to help her first customer. A nervous-looking young man walked into the cafe. He had a laptop bag and was wearing a t-shirt with a technology company logo. "Welcome to the Time Traveler's English Cafe," Emma said, trying to sound confident. "I'm Emma. How can I help you?" "I'm David Kim," he said with a slight Korean accent. "I have a job interview tomorrow at a big tech company, but I'm worried about my English. A friend told me this cafe could help." Emma smiled, remembering her own job interview struggles. "You've come to the right place. Let me suggest our interview success blend. It's a special coffee that will take you to different job interviews throughout history. You can practice answering questions and learn from others' experiences." David looked unsure, but he took the coffee. As soon as he drank it, his table was surrounded by a gentle blue mist. When the mist cleared, he was sitting in a 1990s office, being interviewed by people in business suits. Emma watched as David practiced his interview skills. Each time he finished one interview, the scene would change to a different time period. She could see him getting more confident with each practice session. Part 5. Unexpected challenges. As weeks passed, Emma became better at her job. She learned to match customers with the perfect time-traveling drinks for their needs. But one day, something unexpected happened. A group of tourists rushed into the cafe just before closing time. They all ordered drinks without listening to Emma's explanations about the rules. Before she could stop them, they had drunk different time-travel beverages and disappeared into various time periods. "Oh no," Emma thought. "What if they don't come back before their drinks get cold?" She looked at Mrs. Rose for help, but the elderly woman just smiled. "This is a good chance for you to practice your problem-solving skills, dear. And your English." Emma took a deep breath and made a plan. She prepared her own cup of time-traveling tea and took small sips, allowing her to quickly visit each time period where the tourists had gone. In each era, she had to explain the rules and convince them to return. She found 2 tourists taking selfies in ancient Rome, 3 trying to buy stocks in 1920s New York, and 1 attempting to give modern technology to people in medieval London. Each situation required her to use different English skills: persuasion, explanation, and sometimes even a bit of stern warning. Part 6. Growing confidence. To Emma's surprise, helping the tourists taught her something important. When she focused on solving problems and helping others, she forgot to worry about her English mistakes. She was too busy communicating to think about perfect grammar. The tourists all returned safely, and many of them became regular customers. They said Emma's clear explanations and patient attitude helped them feel comfortable practicing their English. One evening, as Emma was cleaning up after a busy day, Mrs. Rose sat down with her. "Do you remember your first day here?" she asked. "You were so worried about your English skills." Emma laughed. "Yes, I was scared to talk to customers. Now I spend all day helping people from different countries practice their English. It's strange how things change. Not strange at all, Mrs. Rose said. The magic of this cafe isn't just in the time travel. It's in helping people discover their own abilities. Part 7, The Special Project. One morning, Mrs. Rose announced exciting news. The cafe was going to host a special event, Time Traveler's English-Speaking Contest. Customers would use their time travel experiences to tell stories about what they had learned. Emma was put in charge of organizing the event. She had to help customers prepare their speeches, create presentation guidelines, arrange the cafe schedule, make sure everyone followed the rules. It was a big responsibility, but Emma felt ready for the challenge. She created special practice sessions where customers could visit different time periods to research their stories. Mr. Garcia decided to talk about how business meetings had changed from the 1960s to now. Miss Tanaka prepared a presentation about American teenage slang through the decades. Mr. Muller worked on a comedy routine comparing medieval and modern English expressions. Part 8, The Big Event. The day of the contest arrived. The cafe was decorated with clocks and maps from different time periods. Customers from all over the world came to participate or watch. Emma was nervous about being the host, but when she stood up to speak, she realized something amazing. She wasn't thinking about her English anymore. She was just enjoying sharing this special experience with others. One by one, the contestants shared their stories. A Brazilian student talked about attending classes in different centuries. A French chef described cooking lessons through time. An Italian artist showed paintings inspired by her time travels. A Russian musician performed songs from various eras. The stories were funny, touching, and inspiring. More importantly, everyone was speaking English without fear, focusing on sharing their experiences rather than worrying about mistakes. Part 9, A Special Discovery. During the event, Emma noticed something unusual. The magical mists around the tables were changing color. Instead of staying separate, they were slowly mixing together, creating a beautiful rainbow effect. Mrs. Rose explained, "This happens when people share their stories and experiences. The magic grows stronger when people connect with each other." As the stories continued, something extraordinary happened. The mixed mists began to show scenes from all the different time periods at once. Customers could see how language had evolved, how people had connected through time, and how English had become a bridge between cultures. Part 10, The Biggest Lesson. After the contest, Mrs. Rose gathered everyone together. "You've all learned something important today," she said. "English isn't just about perfect grammar or pronunciation. It's about connection, communication, and sharing experiences." Emma looked around at the cafe filled with people from different countries, all talking and laughing together in English. Some were speaking perfectly, others were making mistakes, but everyone was understanding each other. She thought about her journey from being afraid to speak English to helping others overcome their fears. The magical cafe had taught her that learning a language wasn't about being perfect. It was about being brave enough to try. Epilogue: A New Beginning. 1 year after starting her job at the Time Traveler's English Cafe, Emma received a surprise. Mrs. Rose called her into the office and said, "I'm getting old, dear, and I need someone to take over the cafe. Would you be interested?" Emma was shocked. "Me? But you've learned the most important lesson," Mrs. Rose said. "You understand that magic isn't in the time travel or the special drinks. The real magic is in helping people believe in themselves. Emma looked around at the cafe she had grown to love. Through the windows, she could see new customers arriving, each with their own dreams of improving their English. On the tables, cups of magical drinks were creating portals to different times and places. And in the air, she could feel the excitement of people learning and growing together. "Yes," Emma said, "I would love to continue the magic." Mrs. Rose smiled and handed her a special key. "Remember," she said, "the greatest journey isn't through time. It's the journey of learning and helping others learn." The end. Moral of the story: learning a language is about connection, not perfection. Helping others can help you overcome your own fears. Real magic happens when people support each other. Every mistake is a step toward success. The best way to learn is by doing. Learning points for English students. 1. Practice makes confidence. 2. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. 3. Focus on communication over perfection. 4. Help others to help yourself. 5. Learning can be magical when you enjoy it.